Okay, here goes with the next key point to evaluate from the Monaco Grand Prix. If you've not already seen it, go and take a look at the incident involving Kimi Antonelli and Gabriele Bortoleto on lap 1 of that Grand Prix. But now we're moving on to the next incident. And for reference, so you can go and see this for yourself, you could got the extended highlights on Sky Sports F1. And I'm just going to go through that. Unfortunately, the videos that I took of the race, when I screen recorded them, they've just come out black screen, so I can't show you anything. I've got the audio, but not the visuals. So we'll go through the visuals on here. As the leaders are beginning lap 2 of the Grand Prix, the virtual safety car is deployed. Okay, because we can only assume that Bortoleto has gone into the tyres at turn 8. He's managed to reverse himself out of there, but there is damage to those tyres. They have been moved. They've been indented by Bortoleto's car. And the clerk of the course, there's a mandatory requirement to make sure that that barrier is capable of performing the same role again should another car hit the barrier at that point. Okay, that barrier is designed to absorb the energy. It's designed to deform in the way that it does, because by it deforming, that dissipates all the energy and that protects the driver in that situation. So they've got to reinstate that to how it was. Now, I accept that that's how it needs to be. But the problem is this. What we saw that Bortoleto managed to get going again. They showed us at some point that he managed to reverse his way out of there and get going again. What I don't recall seeing was any footage showing us of exactly what was taking place at that corner. And what appeared to be taking place was that the virtual safety car then was being utilised for a period of about 3 laps. And it's like, well, what's going on? F1 TV could quite easily show us what the cameras are recording at that location to show the watching world this is what's going on. But they don't. They hide that from us. And by hiding from us the clear evidence of what is taking place, leaves things open to being manipulated. Because they could quite clearly show, right, here are the guys, they're checking the tyres, they're trying to pull them out just to then reinstate this tyre barrier. And then they've done their checks, they're good with it, good to go. We can now go back to racing, go green again. But they don't do that. Instead, it's virtual safety car. How long is it going to be? How long is it going to be? When are they going to get racing again? Are the people in the pits going to be able to get a cheap pit stop? Will it go green whilst they're in the pits? What impact is this going to have on everybody? Do you know what I mean? That's the way that they do it. And like I say, it leaves it open to manipulation. That barrier could be repaired. It could be ready to go. Oh, we'll keep the virtual safety car going because it benefits such and such a person. This is the problem. It leaves it open to manipulation. So, the virtual safety car is an issue there in terms of we don't get to see when the operation clear up is completed by. Secondary to that, let's just enlarge this. We cut from this view and it plays on. In fact, let me just, before I play it at full speed, which will get blocked on copyright, let me just go to a quarter speed. We'll slow it down. Okay, we'll do that. And also, I just want to try and do it this way. Some of you will realise why. Okay, so when we play it through again, quarter speed. You can play this yourself at full speed if you would like to see what's going on. They're showing us the cars coming through. This is over the grid. And then they cut to the pitch. So firstly, we've got Tsunoda doing this supposed strategy of lapping after 1 lap. Mandatory 2 stops. Throwaway set after 1 lap. See if you can gain positions through your pit stop strategy. That would have never worked for everybody due to what Lawson then did for that Red Bull B team. And then what Williams subsequently did. Alpines look as though they do the same. Behrman. Now look at this. Behrman in pit 7.4. Okay. This is the Haas car coming down there. They're not double stacking the Haas cars. All right. The other Haas is Ocon, isn't he? Ocon finishes in 7th. Ocon doesn't pit now. So Behrman's in the pit 7.4. Keep your eye on this graphic of the times that each are in the pits. 8.1, 8.4, 8.7, 8. Like I say, it's slowed down. You've got Gasly, Sonoda, and Behrman in the pits. Behrman's in the pits 10 seconds. 11. Now come to a standstill at about 12 seconds. It comes to a standstill. So the Alpine gets going. We cut to a different camera. The Red Bull, the Alpine go. Behrman in the pits, 16.5, and then it goes out. Gets to 16.6 seconds, and it goes out. Gasly, 28 seconds. Behrman's, so that little graphic counting the amount of time that Behrman's in the pits, well, we don't know, okay? But then we cut back. Eventually, like I said, it's quarter speed. What's going on in this Haas pit? There's a problem, isn't there? Yeah, there's a problem. Bortoletto's now in the pits. Bortoletto, having made it back, probably needs to replace his nose cone. Probably got front wing damage after ending up in those barriers. Being cast adrift of the pack, and therefore you might just as well try and change and get that time back through the pit stop strategy. So Bortoletto in the pits, 10 seconds. So you can see here how you can gauge how many seconds Behrman's in the pits by when Bortoletto's counter emerged on screen. You can see how many seconds that is being counted up on Bortoletto's counter. Go back and check. I'm not going to do this. What this is demonstrating, though, is that in a pit stop, you can have delays. You can have problems. You can go into the pits. You can get a cross-threaded wheel nut. You can have another problem in there that results in, and they've cut away. So we go back 5 seconds, and they cut away. So we don't know when Behrman's car is ready to be released. We don't know how long that pit stop took. But this is what can happen. You can get a cross-threaded wheel in it. You can get another issue that prevents that car from being able to just do a 2 to 3 second stop, and therefore just losing 20 to 25 seconds as a pit stop, because they don't always run according to plan. Now, during that race, we were told it's a mandatory, you've got to have a mandatory of 2 tyre changes. And if you don't, what you'll get is a 30-second penalty for not taking that second pit stop. Well, what if your pit stop, there's a problem? Would it have been cheaper for the Haas team to say, and again, obviously this is lap 1, but imagine one of your pit stops is a stop where there's a problem and it's longer than 30 seconds. It would be cheaper to your race time to say, right, we're not going to take a pit stop in case it's a problem pit stop like that. Instead, we'll just take the 30 seconds. You shouldn't get that choice. So towards the end of the race, we were getting this notion, well, Max was leading the race, and the options were, oh, what are Red Bull doing? What are Red Bull doing? What are Red Bull doing? If you don't stop, you could just have 30 seconds added to your race time. Well, what if it's not a 30-second pit stop? What if it's a problem? What if you'd actually lose 40 seconds by going into the pits and being stationary for so long whilst they were dealing with whatever issue? But you've completely made the choice to not fulfill that requirement to go on to a second set of tyres and instead just take a 30-second hit instead. Well, that 30-second hit might not be enough. Why are you allowing teams to make that? You should be making it a 1-minute hit. And again, this is the FIA imposing a set of stipulations which are too lenient. What they do, they're open to manipulation. And teams can assess, well, what's better for us? Is it taking a 30-second hit and not having to risk anything going wrong in a pit stop? Or do we risk a pit stop? So that's a problem, isn't it? And the other problem as part of that was, Red Bull are, if it's red flagged by now, if it's red flagged in these last few laps, Red Bull can change their tyres for free and not have to lose the however many seconds, 20 odd seconds, to change their tyres. Oh, that means he can stay in the lead and win the race when the other teams have complied with the regulations, complied with the requirement to change tyres under racing conditions, and they'd lose out. Something needs to be tightened up there. The idea of trying to hang it out in the hope that it would be red flagged, and therefore you can make that change under red flag conditions, not losing your race time, and then if the race gets restarted, you would then still be classified as the leader of that race. Obviously, if the race didn't restart, then what would happen is you would then, having not made the stop, you'd be susceptible to that imposition of the 30-second time penalty. But like we've also seen before, they'd even restart it just for one lap. We saw that essentially, or was it 2 laps, in Baku, Azerbaijan in 2021. They decided under that safety car period, after Max had crashed out, that, oh, it's unsafe for them to be lapping through the pit lane, we'll red flag it. And rather than end the race at that point in time, what they did, they restarted it for a 1 to 2 lap sprint race, the one where Hamilton locked up at the start and went on at turn 1 and went from second down to last in that position there. Remember that one. So again, rather than say, well, we've had the Grand Prix here, this was a race over 200, 300 miles, can't remember what it is. What is it 310 kilometres and however many miles, 190 miles. Rather than say we've done that and we're near the end of it and we've had to stop it, there's your winner. No, what we'll do, we'll ignore all that's taken place beforehand. We'll wipe all the advantages that all have been built up, and what we'll do is just decide the winner of this event by who wins over 1 lap now. It's all for show, it's all for spectacle. So they're the 2 key things from this video. The fact that they don't show us what's going on when they're clearing up an incident, okay, and therefore it's possible to manipulate what's going on and when they resume racing by not informing the global watching audience about what's actually going on. And the other thing being this idea that rather than take the mandatory 2 pit stops that they introduced, which again is just for show at this event, rather than saying, well, we can take the 30 seconds, what if there's a problem? What if there is a problem? Because if there's a problem and it takes more than 30 seconds, well, you're better beneficial taking the penalty, aren't you? You should not be allowed to make that choice. You should not be allowed to make that choice. Anyway, that'll do on this one. I'm going to carry on going through that Sky Sports presentation there and pick out the things that need to be shown up to be problems in this show that is Formula One. Thank you once again for your time.